Item of business is public comment, and does anyone from the public wish to comment? I'm not seeing any desire to do that, so we will move on to agenda item number 4. This is a review of City Council goals and objectives, and councilors, in your packet you'll see a list of the goals and objectives that were set earlier in the year, or was it last year? I'm losing track. It was earlier this year. And I just wanted us to have a chance to check in to see the progress of those. I believe the goals and objectives are posted on the website, so community members can see them at any time. And in the order of keeping things moving along, happy to go through each of these, but I would hate to take the time to do it line by line. I'll just call out some highlights. One area of focus, and this is more for the public that's here tonight or who is watching on Channel 15. One area of focus is neighborhoods, improving neighborhoods by making public investments that encourage private investment. We've got 5 different items in progress, all in progress, and 1 completed. Which range from the completed one, which was to increase appropriations for planning and programming for replacing our tree infrastructure, to working on increased enforcement of public health and safety ordinances, where we've got a garbage ordinance in progress, taking a look at where we might need additional street lighting, and also exploring methods to improve the quality of the housing stock in St. Albans. Infrastructure, as you know, if you've been watching the city council meetings or paying attention to the minutes, we've had a few infrastructure projects that are underway, the neighborhood sidewalks being one large one that will continue for 2 more years. And then the Federal Street project that's underway. Also, wastewater treatment improvements. We had strong support from the voters earlier this year to move forward on that. Economic development, again, several economic development initiatives underway, ranging from improvements on Main Street buildings to consideration of developing, launching public relations, marketing campaigns for our community, our downtown. Redevelopment of the corner of Main Street in progress is ongoing. Stebbins Street, as you know, redevelopment underway there. Administration-wise, another set of goals. So ongoing. We continue to have conversations, though they've slowed down significantly with our partners in the town regarding the water and wastewater dispute, but that is ongoing. And we also identified as a goal to seek to identify redevelopment opportunities at the Fonda property. That is also ongoing. And here at City Hall, with the renovations complete, looking to see how we can maximize usage of the auditorium for a diverse array of programs and events. This is one item that you'll note is not listed as ongoing, but is getting started, so we'll hear more at future city council meetings on that. Quality of life, pursuing initiatives that improve the quality of life in the city, ranges from work to explore opportunities for stormwater mitigation, parking issues in residential areas, and continuing to work to resolve traffic issues in residential areas, including truck speeding and air brakes. So as you know, councilors, this is ongoing and there's more to be done. Parks and Recreation has been working with the Taylor Park Commission on creating and developing a Taylor Park Master Plan. This is ongoing. Of course, it will come to the council when it's ready. And also, we've been working to smooth the integration with the HARDAC organization. On that note, we're getting close to being at the state of a closing. We have asked staff to focus on working in the public safety arena to explore options for a new public safety facility. So we will expect, that's ongoing, and expect in the future to see more information about that. And then finally, we have as the last category, delivering operations that are efficient and highly effective, that inspire public confidence. Quality of Life Committee, pointing to Chad, who leads that, is meeting more often. That's an ongoing committee. Increasing the enforcement of zoning violations, done and ongoing. We've got some cost-benefit analysis, which has not made progress regarding council packets and how to get them out more effectively and efficiently, so stay tuned on that. Streetscape landscaping, working on the Aldous Street crossing, crosswalk work, leaf disposal opportunities. These are all ongoing. We don't have final solutions yet, but work in progress. And then we also asked staff to consider how we can conduct road maintenance in off hours to minimize disruption, so working on the flow. So I just did what I said I wouldn't do. I went through every line, sorry. But I want the public to know the breadth of what we're going through right now. I've been asked a lot of questions on a variety of these things recently, so again, encourage people to look at the website if they want to be familiar with what we're working on.
Just a little clarification on the Albans Street crossing.
Yep.
We're talking about the railroad crossing.
Yep.
Yes.
Questions from the council about progress?
I'll just say that I can remember when I first came on the council, we would have meetings and we would have somebody come in and tell us how to operate as a group for the first 2 or 3 hours of the session. And never would we have something like this and have these goals and their accomplishments on a piece of paper with so many improvements. And I think yourself and Dominic, when we get together, it helps us to pinpoint the strategies that we need to put forth and refine our goals to manageable things that the city has the ability to do. And I don't think we were getting that before, but over the last several sessions we have, and this is the type of reward we get for that.
Great, thank you for saying that. I find it helpful to keep track of where we're at, and of course it's ongoing, so we'll in no time be adding new goals for next year. If there's nothing else, we'll move on to agenda item number 5. This is an interview for the Recreation Commission, and Matt Allen, we invite you to the center stage.
Madam Mayor, in light of Mr. Allen's experience in both the community and with children in specific, I was wondering if we could just go forego the formal questions.
That's a motion, I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
So when does this term expire that he's applying for?
I do not know. We reappointed all the commissioners except for one last time, and I don't know, I can't recall if I got a list of who expires when.
So,
it's either 2 years or 3 years.
So 2020 sound good? Okay, so I'll move to
Could it, before you make a motion?
Yep.
Could we ask Mr. Allen if he has anything he'd like to share with us?
No, I'd be really ecstatic to be part of the commission. I believe our rec department has so much potential to impact our community, and being able to play a role in that would be amazing. So
We've all got your application in front of us. We thank you for your interest and your background and skills. Will be great, I believe. So on that note.
Okay, so I move that we appoint Matthew Allen to the Recreation Committee with a term expiring in 2020.
Second.
Okay, further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, anybody
That's a tough
opposed?
interview.
Phew.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you. Okay, next up, liquor control. Take a motion to move recess for liquor control.
So,
Nope.
second.
I have one entity that's coming before you, the other two have not yet arrived.
We're way ahead of schedule, huh? All right.
We're ahead of schedule.
We didn't vote on that, so what do we want to do? Do you want to withdraw?
Yeah, I'll withdraw.
Okay. And it's scheduled for 7 p.m.
Chip could bang out wayfinding signage.
Okay. Updates on plans for gateway signage and city hall information. evening, Chip.
Good evening, thank you. We wanted to share some of the designs to update you on the work for updating the gateway signage into the city on either end of Main Street, and also an event/information sign and a meeting sign at City Hall. The designs are in your packet, but what we're trying to accomplish a few things. One, overall, is to have these signs match the wayfinding design that you find in our new streetscape improvement. Has broad appeal, it's pretty successful, it looks nice, and we think it's time to update the gateway signs, but also to provide more informational signage at City Hall that have that same look and feel. And so we're using the same firm that designed that wayfinding signage way back in 2012. The gateways specifically, we are trying to make the gateways more city focused, to highlight more of what's in the city year round. Just with, it just mentions 4 things in particular on the sign: restaurants, shops, Taylor Park, hotel. And to have a space to provide some uniformity for the club signs that you'll find at either end of the city. It's a little different on the north than it is in the south, and we've done some preliminary exploration of how much use of club signage there is. And what we would do is provide space. We think 5 will do it. 5 spots will do it. It also allows us to be more involved in making sure that signage is well maintained and looks pleasing. And then there would be a space, as you can see at the bottom, for announcing special events upcoming, like the Maple Festival, of course. As for City Hall, we are looking at a large event sign to go in this planted area out here on the southern side, front area. If you remember, back when we pursued the TIF district and the streetscape project, we put up an informational sign out front because we thought it was a good opportunity to inform people. And that sign was pretty popular. A lot of people would walk by and take a look at it. And it was a good chance for the city to, put some information out there. So we want to have that ability again. Now that City Hall's renovated, this is the space that we are proposing for this sign. It would be much more interchangeable in that we wouldn't have to get Public Works out each time to unscrew the plexiglass and put on a new image. This is a cabinet where we could put up a large poster for an upcoming vote, or put up 2 posters for 2 events coming up, Festival of Trees, and would provide, just some more flexibility. And then a nice meeting sign at the entrance to City Hall is being proposed. This would probably have more to do with things upcoming, maybe mostly board meetings, but there could also be other events that we could put in the sign as well.
I like it.
Yeah.
So my wife and I were headed to New York the other day, and we were going through Alberg, and we both mentioned how nice the Alberg sign looks as you go over the bridge from West Swanton to Alberg.
Mm-hmm.
So I was happy to see this in the packet on Friday. One question I have is, how are our other signs holding up? Are they holding up well?
I think so. We haven't had any reason to look at any particular problem with them, and I walk by a few of them pretty often, especially on Lake Street, ones we just put up.
Okay.
I think they weather well. They're easily maintained, and we can always go back to wooden wood if we run into some issue that needs a little bit of extra thought.
And then my only other comment is there's also a kiosk in Taylor Park. So if we were going to do these, that might be the time to do the kiosk in Taylor Park.
We had thought of that. I'd rather wait till the master plan process is done, because we might get some ideas out of that process we wouldn't think of if we just went through and did a replacement of what's already there. So that's why we're not presenting something about that for you tonight.
Okay.
If somebody is interested in the existing sign that has been in place for I don't know how long, like the museum, would you reach out before it's destroy before we replace.
Oh,
signs.
yes.
I just,
You're
I think
talking-
this
oh,
is
yes.
classic St. Albans.
Good point. Absolutely, that's a great idea. Just like we tried to save each and every lady from the fountain, we'll see what we can do.
Save
here.
the signs.
So,
Any other questions?
So the banner space below the club signs is for what type of event?
Well, the Maple Festival just came to mind first of all, in that these signs have always highlighted the Maple Festival and had the dates. They've always served that function. I see no reason why we should take that away. Certainly they'll be more city-centric now than Maple Festival-centric, but we ought to get that Maple Festival banner up there with the dates, make sure people know it's coming.
Absolutely.
Festival of Trees, I think it's, whatever we think would serve the public good and make sense for the space, let people know what's coming up.
But probably city events and not individual business events.
Yeah, that would probably be the policy.
It's very similar to it's an alternative to the cross-street banners here, which are really expensive. This is something that has a very different price point. So, but we're not looking to, it's not advertising space.
no.
Right, and that's so I just was thinking about, you might want to think about what the process is like for deciding what goes there. I think it's a great opportunity, but could be a can of worms.
It could be. Well, we might be able to adopt a similar process of what we use for the cross-street banners right now.
Chip, how firm is the copy on, I love the, 1896 says historic without having to use a big word that takes up a lot of vinyl, like historic, but how set is that, the copy that's on the main?
It's gone through several iterations. I think we're ready to pull the trigger out on the staff side, but we'll certainly take any input from you, any ideas you may have.
I think it's awesome. I just wanted to know
Okay.
kind of where that was in design.
We're kind of in final design, unless somebody at this table has a better idea.
Looks really nice.
All right. Thanks for the update.
Thank you.
And Sue, are we good to,
I have two, we can start with, yes,
are we still missing?
still missing one.
Okay, then, Chip, why don't you stay put?
Okay.
Because we are still running a little ahead of schedule. Let's do,
Kingman Street?
yeah.
Street.
All right. I'm joined by Greg Backus from DHB, and
Good evening.
Greg, well, you can go ahead on this. Sure. I'll give a little introduction. We're going to show some images up on the screens. The Kingman Street project has been in the design phases for, it's been a while, but we've been, busy with other streetscape projects. But as you remember, at each of those projects, there was a point in which, under the V-Trans process, we need conceptual approval from the legislative body, that would be you. This is sort of this would be a presentation to you of a general plan that has a lot of thought put into it. There's already been a lot of groundwork done, but as you know, these are very detailed projects, and there's still some major planning items to be finalized in the next few stages. But this is a chance for the city council to give input on and bless the general gist of what we're trying to accomplish with the project. So far on this project, we have, we sort of started from the other streetscape projects. One of the goals of this one is to wrap the downtown core in that streetscape look. Kingman Street is the biggest final piece. And so we sort of started with that in mind, and the team of VHB was there from the beginning in developing that look. We've run some of this by the Downtown Design Committee and the Downtown Board. We, especially Marty, we've had contact with property owners on Kingman Street. Some things have already been moved around a little bit based on input from property owners and businesses. And we're basically here to present the general idea.
Great.
Perfect. Teed it up perfectly.
Yeah.
And this is a decision point for us to move into the next phase. We need your endorsement of the proposed concept. So quickly, some of the proposed improvements on Kingman, much like the other streetscape projects, to improve pedestrian accommodations, reconstruct and widen the sidewalks. Today the sidewalks are uneven in width. The south side is considerably narrower than the north side, but both are too narrow to plant trees and add streetlights and that sort of thing. Improve access for the disabled. We want to try to improve access to some of the doorways that today are not accessible to a wheelchair. We have an opportunity here to make that right. And I'll talk about that some more. We're looking to add a mid-block crosswalk, more or less centered in the length of the street, and I'll show that in the image. And then, of course, the streetscape enhancements. We're going to add 18 trees. I think that alone will drastically transform the look and feel of the roadway. Add pedestrian scale streetlights, the same type that you have on Main Street and Lake Street. Add brick accents to the sidewalks, the same as Main Street. Add planters at the bump outs as opposed to actual landscaping, primarily for maintenance concerns, especially where it's on a hill. And if you did mulch and that sort of thing, it would become a more of a headache than anything. And then there's some utility work to be done. We're still in the phase of trying to figure out what the extent of that will be, how much sewer, water, and drainage system needs to be repaired or replaced or upgraded. At first, we didn't think it was going to be any, and I think Alan has had some second thoughts on what might need to be done, so there's still some investigations to be done. The existing roadway, as I mentioned before, the south sidewalk is considerably narrower than the north, something in the range of 5 to 7 feet on the south and more like 8.5 on the north. You can see that there's parallel parking on the south side and diagonal parking on the north side. In order to widen the sidewalks, we're going to convert the diagonal parking to parallel parking. So we gain about 8 feet by doing that. That's 8 feet that we can then translate directly into sidewalk space. So that's where the real change and the real benefit is going to occur from the pedestrian space perspective. These are two different cross sections. The one at the top is the existing conditions cross section. It shows the diagonal parking on the left, which is the north side, the parallel parking on the right, and 13-foot travel lanes, two-way roadway. The proposed concept is eliminating the diagonal parking on the left and then keeping the 13-foot travel lanes. We looked at doing 12, and the feeling was that with parallel parking and winter conditions, the 12 would be too constricting. And we also wanted to allow bikes to share the road, so 13 became kind of the sweet spot. We balanced the sidewalk widths. So you have 12 on both sides. And 12 is also kind of a sweet spot because it allows you to put in your trees and your street lights and still get your sidewalk plowed through there. So from a public use and a maintenance perspective, this is an ideal setup for the dimensions. And that's the actual plan. I think you have it in your handouts. You see the parallel parking on both sides. A couple things to note: we've added one handicap space on the south side towards Main Street, and then also a designated loading spot also on the south side towards Main Street, which is where we understand that's happening anyway. So we want to actually carve out some space. You can see where the mid-block crossing is aligned, opposite the bank parking lot and opposite the parking lot to the south, spaced evenly between the two intersections. It has bump outs at both sides of the road, and that's where we do a little bit more landscaping, and we actually have slightly different streetlights that would be higher over the. She did.
Oh.
No.
No.
Oh, I did it. Did I click it?
Just say something.
Okay.
kicked.
Okay. And that was really my last image of the street, and I'll answer questions and come back to that. But then lastly, this slide kind of shows the existing condition on the upper right with a number of doorways along the side, different elevations. And there are a few of those doorways that we were unable to grade the roadway and the sidewalk to meet their elevations, so we're considering something like what is shown in the bottom right, where we would construct a sidewalk ramp up to those doors with railings. And there's luckily, again, with a 12-foot sidewalk, you have enough room to do that. So, and the reason we're able to now match some of these doorways that weren't being met before is we're widening the sidewalk, and that allows us enough room to now make up the grade we need. And we've done some detailed survey and some detailed grading to make sure we can do that. There are some doorways where inside the building there are stairs, so we don't care if we don't have to hit those because they're already not ADA accessible. But the ones that would benefit from having ADA access, we've made sure we hit those. And we did a survey of the buildings and their interiors to make sure that we're not missing anything. So that's the approach.
All right, thank you. We'll take council questions, and then if the public has comments or questions, we'll do that.
A couple of questions for me.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're obviously making this more of a pedestrian-friendly street, but what do we sacrifice in terms of parking to make it on both sides?
Yeah,
How many spaces are we losing?
we're losing about 13.
Okay,
Yeah.
significant.
Yeah.
So, and there's only one, I can see, there's only one handicap spot on the street,
Right.
and that's on the south side.
Yes.
Nothing on the north side.
Right. We went by ADA guidelines on the number of spaces per block you should have, and it ends up being one. And where we're improving the crossings, we felt that was adequate.
How many handicap spots are there on the street now?
You know, I think it might only be one. I'm not
One.
positive. Yeah.
I thought there was one in front of the bank, isn't there? Yeah. In front of the bank, in front of the People's Trust, I think
Yeah.
there's one on the south side as well.
I don't believe there's one on the south side.
Okay.
So my only comments would be if the crosswalk mid-street was east just a little bit on the other side of the entrance to the parking lot for People's Trust, then Tetros would be able to use that bump out for food. They would be able to have tables out there. I think it's just a little too far down the street now for them, just a thought. And then the only other thing, please be cautious of the tree that you put on the east side on the bank drive-through, because if it's not tall enough, it's going to make it hard to see.
Yes, we'll take a look
Yeah,
at that.
that's it. Yeah.
We considered, we've been talking to Gary and Lisa at Tetros. The mid-block crosswalk is where it is for a couple reasons. It's actually using space next to the people's driveway where you wouldn't be able to have a parking space anyway, because you can't put a parking space right next to where the driveway comes out.
Okay.
So that's why we decided to put the mid-block crosswalk west of the people's parking lot driveway. So we wouldn't be taking much more parking by putting it there. So we've been talking to Tetros, and we're going to look into the option of, because every time, right now the outdoor dining areas in the downtown, which are great, are areas that are bump outs not just for dining. They're bump outs because they're crosswalk spots in front of Twigs and in front of Nemo's. And every time you put a bump out for outdoor dining, you are taking up parking spaces. So we're already taking up a few for this project. So we're going to look into the idea of what might we be able to build that could be outdoor dining. You've probably seen there are pocket parks people put into parking spaces, for temporary times to just enjoy the space, but also remind folks that this could be a pedestrian area. So there are things you can build, there are things you can put in the street. in other cities. Montpelier does it a lot. So we're going to look into the ability to have something that we could put out in the street that could be outdoor dining for Tetros, and then it could be seasonal. Maybe we pick it up in the winter. It's a parking space, or it helps with the plowing. So it would allow. It's an idea that allows for the outdoor dining without having to lock it in, as this will always be a bump out from now on. It can never be anything else.
Yeah. I mean, it's a 12-foot wide sidewalk, so it's pretty wide.
Yeah, they
so.
I mean, 84 Main has like 3 tables set up in front of them, and they don't have a bump out. So, you're right. With the sidewalk width alone, Tetros might find that they're just fine with what they have.
I do want to throw out there that it's on a bit of a grade there, so I don't know how well that works with tables and people's drinks and that sort of thing.
My recollection is they were lukewarm on it, right? Didn't we talk to Tetros about it?
They were certainly interested in it, but I didn't know, not, by hook or by crook.
I mean, the tough part with them, I think the business is for sale, so, who knows what the next owner wants or whatever. So, thank you.
Yes. Quick question about the planters. They look lovely around the city, but they strike me as being something that's pretty intense from an upkeep standpoint. They have to be planted and replanted every season. Is there some other solution that's not mulch that's going to fly away, but is a little bit more permanent, or are the planters really working well for us?
We think the planters are working well. It's the material that the planters are on. These landscape beds, they add a lot of visual value. Like you mentioned, they do require maintenance, and like we've seen, that mulch sometimes has to be swept back up every time there's a storm. And this is some of the input that we received directly from the Downtown Design Committee. They'd like to look at, getting rid of the mulch for this project, and to see if we can come up with a concept that eliminates that, but still has the planters. They're suggesting we go with something unique in the planters, maybe rectangular square patterns instead of the round. Little things like that, and when we get into the final design, we can see if we can make improvements like that and also make Kingman Street a little special.
This might be a good spot, those bump outs for like some kind of art installation too,
Yeah.
trying to draw people down that
Yeah.
street.
That would be great. So what's next? You're asking us for conceptual approval, and then what lies ahead?
The immediate next step is we file an environmental document based on this concept, which should get approval relatively quickly, and then we go into preliminary design where we start to nail down some of the details, and in this case, things like the utilities really need to be advanced a little further. And at that point, come up with a pretty good cost estimate, so we know that we're within your budget, and you know what the budget is, what the cost is, and then we go to final design. Right now, it would be, I think, asking a lot of V-Trans to get us to a spring 2018 construction, to do the environmental review and the plan reviews, but it's conceivable if things go quickly. I would say it's a simpler project than, for instance, Lake Street, which is the same length, but had a hotel and a lot of things going on and traffic signal. This is considerably more straightforward. I should mention too that there's a little bit of right-of-way impact here. It's temporary impact for the sidewalk construction, because some of the sidewalk jogs into property lines to get to the building faces, and that can add a little time too. But that's, we'll do what we can to get it out there for 2018.
And thanks. And then what do we need to do to pay for it?
Oh, we're going to continue to secure more construction funding.
So we have some.
I believe we have some.
Okay.
There's a lot going on right now with other projects. We're going to see how, when these other projects finish up, Lake Street's pretty much all wrapped up. The federal Captain Street project, it'll give us a good idea of what's left in the coffers.
Okay.
And then, but I think the city's going to have to seek more construction funding to make this project happen. I don't worry about 2018. I'm not so sure 2018 would happen.
It would probably go out to bid at a bad time of year.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't get good pricing. So
if we give ourselves more time to construct it, we can. It might benefit the price in the end.
Okay. Great.
Motion to approve conceptual plan, Cayman Street.
Second.
Yeah, could I ask you to, well, go ahead, no, we can't. Would you mind withdrawing until we get public
Oh, I'm
comment?
sorry. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
if you're amenable to
Withdraw,
withdrawing. Just checking in, members of the public, does anybody wish to comment? Okay, I'm seeing none, so
Motion to approve conceptual plan for Cayman Street.
Second.
further discussion from the council?
So this says we'll have opportunity for more input as we go.
Yes.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Abstaining? Motion carries. Thank you. It's exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, now, let's recess for liquor control.
So moved,
Second.
if we need it.
All in favor?
I don't know if we need it or not.
I know, sir.
So,
Motion to recess.
motion.
Okay, 7:15, calling liquor control board to order. And we have a few approvals to consider. All right. And Sue, we'll let you guide us through agenda item number 2 when you're ready.
Okay, the first one is an outside consumption permit from the Moose Lodge, and Brown here to speak. They put in a new patio on the Moose Lodge on Lake Street, a 14 by 21. So now they're just looking to see about having alcohol, food alcohol. Correct? Correct.
Okay. Any questions?
No concerts or bands or anything planned out there?
Oh, no.
Okay.
no.
Nope. Thank you.
This is in the back of the building,
In front.
in the front of the building?
Yes.
Okay. So just pay more attention, I drive down through there.
Anything else?
No.
Okay. Do we want to do these one at a time or together?
Move to approve the outside consumption permit for Moose Lodge.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Abstaining? Motion carries. Thank you.
See how tough we were?
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Okay.
So the next one is Eric Shelver, right?
Correct.
And he's the owner of the Burnished Fox with the
44 South Main.
44 South Main. And he's looking for a second-class license. You have the application in front, we did a criminal background check, that's fine. And then I do have his liability insurance also.
Well, refresh my memory, 44 South Main, is that down by the old Bolton's, the old passport, the
Yes,
old
right.
post office passport center, right there, yeah.
Yeah.
So are you changing the type of business or is this?
No, we're gonna add, wine where you can buy and, individual wrap cigars.
Got it. Anything
I
else?
was trying to figure out what you were doing with that.
Yeah.
I bet in the story, say, wait.
Motion to approve the application as presented.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed or abstaining? Motion carries. Your motion carries. Thank you very much. Good luck.
You're welcome.
Okay, next one.
Next one is, it was one federal, now it's gonna be Real Foundry.
Yes, that one.
Okay.
Keeping some of the old. And this is Katie Sweeney, for the New Orleans, right? And she's looking to get a first class liquor license. And also, an outside consumption permit also. I mean, this is what the restaurant has now,
Keeping that.
keeping it the same.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
Questions? No? All right,
Motion to approve the application as presented.
Second.
all in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed?
Good luck.
Abstained? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Yes, we wish you the best.
Oh, thanks, guys. Stop in and see us.
All right, we will. Okay, let's see. Minutes.
Move to approve the minutes of April 10th, 2017.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed, abstaining? That motion carries.
Are we
August
forgetting, are we moving too fast?
No?
Did we, what about, did we get Spruce Street and all that stuff on item 10?
Now we're doing liquor control.
We're back to liquor.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, Mayor, I'm like, where are we, how come we already doing that?
For those of you who are keeping track at home.
And now we're going along right now.
Whoa, I'm saying, we're
Way down.
Thanks for asking.
Put the brakes there, huh?
Well, somebody's paying attention over there.
All right. I've been trying to skip things. Yeah, August 14th.
Motion to approve the minutes of August 14th, 2017.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed or abstaining? Motion carries. Other business? Is there any other business?
One quick thing, again, I'm concerned about the amount of personal information in this packet, so why we need some of that information, I have no idea, so.
Which one I thought I had been.
I have a whole list of social security numbers and birth dates.
All right, we brought it to the attention of the city manager already.
Okay, so that.
I don't need any of that,
Yeah.
thank you.
Whose application is that? It's,
That's
States.
Fed, I think.
One Fed.
Yeah.
yeah, but at the state, so we just black them out, is that what we need to
I have
do?
to
Yeah.
send it to the state with that information in. So I
So
really
we just-
try to pull it out, we just try to.
So we just omit it from the council packet, that's the
Yeah,
process?
it just,
Yeah.
I just don't know how public this information is.
Yeah.
Fact,
Yeah, I don't think we need that, we don't need that.
No, I don't
No,
need this.
no, I don't think we need
All
that.
you need, really, is just the first.
Personally, I'd like to
Yep.
pass this in and have them shredded, so if you
Yep.
would.
Yeah, just leave it on the corner and then I'll take
Okay.
it.
Shed mine.
Okay,
All right.
any other business? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. How about Spruce Street? First reading, amendments to ordinances regarding Spruce Street, travel direction and trucks. Chip is back.
We have, trying to accomplish two things with this proposed amendment. Right now, Spruce Street is in the ordinance as one-way north. However, there is a multifamily complex on Lake Street. The parking lot empties onto Spruce. And I've spoken over the past couple of years to Spruce Street residents who are happy that those residents will sort of break the ordinance and proceed south to get right onto Lake Street, because that's a lot of traffic that would end up going down Spruce Street whenever they need to leave and go do something. So it was in the back of my mind that whenever Spruce Street came up, we would adjust the one-way area to move it north of that curb cut, so that traffic leaving that complex could go south or north. It could go straight to Lake Street if they want. And then you couldn't proceed past that point. Well, you get it, I think. Spruce Street's kind of complicated. It's in the major transition area between commercial and residential. The other issue is that there's a no through truck sign on Spruce Street. And we realized that that rule never made it into the city ordinance. We put up the sign, but so we decided that with these two things put together, it's time to request an amendment for Spruce Street. The proposal is that the one-way area and the no through truck area would be the same. They would be on Spruce Street from LaSalle to a point that's 120 feet from Lake. And which is basically where the truck sign is now and where that curb cut to the Lake Street property is.
Okay.
You're suggesting from that parking lot to Lake Street would be two-way, and then from that, beyond that parking lot would be one-way north?
Yeah, right.
It's not gonna cause any confusion with cars entering Spruce Street from Lake, I'm just a little concerned.
Well, if you enter Spruce Street from Lake, you can keep going north. So you're
Right.
fine.
Except you might end up running into a car trying to come off from Spruce Street to go onto Lake.
But people, see, part of the reason that people are doing it now, so they're used to that.
That's the old Gays Market building
Yes,
you're talking
yes.
about? Well, don't the people from Beverage Mart filter out of that driveway that's on Spruce Street? Don't they go into Lake Street?
Yeah.
That first curb cut.
Yeah.
Not the one where he expanded further down.
Yeah, yeah.
But from that first curb cut, they will go south on Lake. And once again, I don't think this.
But they do that now.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone does it now.
Yeah.
People are used to it. We don't get complaints from the Spruce Street residents when people go south from there. It's rather rather that people keep continuing to be able to
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
So
It's
this
a tough
just-
place to go east, but it's doable.
Yeah.
You're
It's
just
hard,
trying
hard.
to reflect reality with this.
Yes.
So Spruce Street's too narrow to make that a completely two-way street?
Back when Tammy was the alderperson, this came up. We spoke to someone on the street together. Then she went around. She surveyed some other folks. I asked them two questions. One, actually three. Would you like to keep it the way it is? Would you like it to be two-way, or would you rather the traffic was one-way south from LaSalle to Lake? And what I was told is that most folks would like to just keep it the way it is.
There's a lot of on-street parking there too.
Yeah.
All the time. Now, would you have signage at the beginning of the street saying, one way, 500 feet, or some, indicating how far up the street the one-way starts? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we would use signs. We would put the signs at the right spot. We'll make it as simple as possible for voters to enjoy. In fact, the no through truck sign would stay right where it is right now, for instance.
Okay, any other questions, comments from the council or the public? Okay, seeing none, so we'll ask to move on and consider acceptance of first reading of the Spruce Street amendments.
Move to accept the first reading of the Spruce Street amendments.
Second.
Probably should let you have
Further discussion? All in favor?
that.
Aye.
Opposed? Anyone abstaining? Motion carries. Next, another first reading. This is amendments to ordinances regarding parking on Lake Street.
This is a change as part of the compromise. Last year, when we were talking to V-Trans about this Class 1 paving project, where they also do line striping, we were happy with the idea of having new bike lanes on Main Street, but also on Lake Street. And on Lake Street in particular, because it's wide enough, but also because someday that could link up with a bike path to the bay, or, looking ahead. And so I presented a amendment to the council to restrict parking on-street parking on either side of Lake Street to make ready for the bike lane. Well, we came to find out afterward that there are more residents down there, and it does get residential. There are more residents down there who use on-street parking on Lake Street than we had thought. And so I'm proposing a compromise where we keep the no parking and the bike lane on the uphill side of Lake Street. It's not a bad hill, but it's enough where, a bike puffing and puffing will feel safer if you have a bike lane in which to puff and puff. And on the downhill side, we could put in these shared lane markings where bikes could, on that hill, even though it's slight, will be better able to keep up with the 25-mile-an-hour traffic. And so if we can do that, we could continue to allow the on-street parking on the north side of Lake Street. So we meet them halfway. So that's the proposal tonight.
Okay. Questions? No? Anyone in the audience? Seeing none? Take a motion to consider acceptance of first reading of Lake Street amendments.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Abstaining? Motion carries. All right. Hey, Chip, you got one more.
Yes.
This is to consider a motion to name the parking garage access road Hampton Lane.
It's almost like the icing on the cake for the downtown core project, you know? Let's name the street that we created. And the staff bandied it around for a bit. We talked to Pete CM, which owns the Hampton Inn site, and Hampton Lane seemed to work, rolled off the tongue pretty well. All that's required is a council motion, and then we'll send it off to E911 to let them know about the new street name. The street's gonna need a name at some point, so.
I know, I was gonna suggest Sawyer Street, we already have one of those, so, you know, so I guess Hampton or.
That was Sawyer Boulevard.
Lane.
I'd move to approve it, naming that street or around the parking garage as Hampton Lane.
Second.
Further discussion? We'll be glad to have a sign there. I think that'll be really helpful to give it a street name. Yep.
Yes.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Is anybody opposed or abstaining? Motion carries. Okay, thanks, Chip. Next item on the agenda is other business.
How'd that get moved up? I said, how'd that get moved up?
Oh, I don't know. Mix it up a little
I
bit.
have just a couple things. Lieutenant Lamont, I see you in the back. I don't know if you have anything specific.
Just came to watch.
All right.
Wait for you to get out.
I'm going out the back door.
Just an exciting night, isn't it?
They're all good, all the town meetings are good. Just came to watch, it was going on, that's all.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us.
I have one comment. I was contacted this week about one particular residence on New Street. So I'm not going to give the address, but from what I understand, the PD is very familiar with the piece of property. So I'm wondering if we can look into if there's something we can do about that. Last I knew, that owner lived in like Kentucky, so it's like an out-of-state landlord. So can we look into that?
Sure.
And I'm hearing it's visited very frequently by the PD.
Yeah, give me a call and give me a few more specifics when you get a
Okay.
chance. Send you an email.
That's all I
Okay,
have.
all right. Anybody else? Mike?
I just wanted to thank Alan and Public Works for getting right out and dealing with a dangerous tree limb issue on High Street. Called them right there, and they're just always speedy and great. And many thanks from the folks on High Street.
Good to hear. Tim?
Letter to the editor a couple of days ago. Unwanted solicitations, people being approached, and then being,
On the street?
yes,
Okay. I missed that.
and then being yelled at after when they declined, apparently 4 times, but I can tell you, I know the one that is most menacing, and I brought that up at the last council meeting. Now this is the 3rd time I'm bringing it up, and now it's made the newspaper. So we really have to do something about this person and the stuff that's going on out there. I don't know what it is, but
Is it all the same person?
Actually,
Excuse me.
did you read that entire letter?
the entire
It
letter.
wasn't us.
It wasn't us.
St. Albans, it resembles us,
Okay.
but that particular letter was referring to an incident in St. Albans, England.
Oh,
They
okay.
emailed it to the wrong people, and
Okay.
Edison decided to run it with it down.
It wasn't
All right.
But it was,
This was intended for.
I didn't see that.
Although we,
They never.
But that the person I mentioned earlier is still around,
Yes.
and his mainstay is Kingman Street, I guess.
yes.
So
go ahead.
I was gonna say, I actually had to file a police report against him the other day because he was shoving his trash down the stormwater drain. So, and then when I said, there's receptacles on Main Street, just mumbling, so I think there's deeper issues there too, so.
I watched him eat a fruit roll-up right in traffic and stopped all the traffic while he was eating it.
So we've discussed this at merchants meetings, this incident, and a number of merchants have issued a no trespass order against this particular individual. The chief is gonna come and speak at the next merchants meeting regarding this, but unfortunately, if he's on a public sidewalk,
there's not much they can do other than issue a citation for begging, and it's not gonna go very far. So we need to have a bigger discussion. He doesn't have a case manager at CSS. PD has a individual working with them through NCSS that they're trying to connect him with to solve the issue, but
Okay.
they're aware of it and working on it.
Sue?
Yeah, I had an episode in my office, probably last week or so. There was someone in paying a bill, and this individual was trying to get money for a bus pass. And, of course, the person just ignored it, and I had to get involved. He, said, well, I'm at the clerk's office, so you should be able to provide me. I said, you know how it works, okay? Please don't be harassing my people here. So he left, but he was not pleasant. He
And
was
he
kind
is-
of rude.
I believe he is harassing people on the sidewalk too, if you're refusing it.
Coming out of people's trust company.
Which is an issue.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay.
Chad, do you have a meeting time in mind for the next public safety?
No, I gotta talk with Dom. I have like 3 or 4 things still lingering, including, talking about speeding, not speeding, but the speed limit within the city itself, because there's a couple spots that's 35. At one time, we talked dropping it down to 25. That's one of them. And then as you come into the city up Lake Street, having something there to kind of slow traffic, traffic calming method. But we have a couple things on the list.
Okay.
Speed bumps everywhere, I think is where we're headed.
Mayor, I have one more.
Yes.
Tom, in our packets that you gave us about the financing, where you showed the projects, that's the first time I've seen that, and that is great.
Isn't that
I
sweet?
I really like that. That's really
Thank you.
informative
Yeah.
and gives us good information. So I hope you keep doing that.
No, once and done.
I do have a question too.
Sure.
Is there an ordinance or is there some ruling about people that put stuff out by the curbing and leave it there for X number of months? Is there some sort of, like televisions or, Christmas tree or something like that? Is there some ruling as to how long that can go on before it's, because it really can make a neighborhood look.
Yeah, totally. It's all in the public health and safety ordinance, and we meet weekly to deal with all that kind of stuff. So
Okay.
give me a call, send me an email, and we'll put it on the list.
Yeah, thank you.
Great. I've got one thing. Does anyone else have more? All right. So folks may recall at our last city council meeting, our city clerk treasurer Sue Krupp announced that she would be retiring. She's not running for re-election in March on town meeting day. That got some of us to do some thinking about that position, and I would like to engage the public, and we'll schedule a public hearing, we don't have a date yet, to talk about the pros and cons of having an appointed versus an elected clerk treasurer. So I just want to put that out there, that's coming, stay tuned. We will schedule the public hearing and get the word out. So if people have thoughts on that, please let us know. And then the last thing I wanted to check in on is, does anybody else in the public have anything to share at this point in time? Oh, yes, I thought you might. Okay.
My name is Danilo Point. I live on High Street, and I just wanted to come in, City Council, the management of the city. I'm very impressed with the development that's going on. I was depressed at one time. I invested in St. Albans in 2011 and quickly moved to China for 3 years. And didn't have a chance to see the downtown. We came back in 2012 and we were very depressed to see the existence of what it looked like. And we're just amazed at the development that's taking place. So kudos to all of you for the job well done. But I do have a concern, and it's not only my concern, but concern of neighbors in my neighborhood and another neighborhood on Main Street that are today faced with absentee landlords or out-of-town developers trying to sandwich in, make sardine can, accommodations on properties that will deteriorate quality of life in St. Albans for the residents and also for whoever lives in these places. So I think you know, the city council should look not only at the downtown core, that's very important, but also pay attention to what's going on in the residential, because unfortunately, if this carries on, we'll be looking for another place to live. It just plays back. So, but, you know, job well done downtown, and I expect it will carry forward to the residential areas as well.
Sure. Well, we appreciate your comments, and indeed, we are focusing beyond just downtown. As mentioned in the strategic planning goals that we reviewed at the start of the session, one of our goals and objectives is to improve quality of life in neighborhoods, and in particular to improve the quality of housing in our neighborhoods. So that is on our mind, and having feedback from the public helps to reinforce the importance of doing that. So along with that, a number of things come to mind. Stepping up, as we mentioned earlier, code enforcement has been a piece of that, and an example where we've been able to impact a neighborhood somewhat recently on Diamond Street, where we were able to take on the property that had been a blighted property and replace it with a building that meets the character of the neighborhood, and not only improve the aesthetics but also the feelings of public safety in that area. So thank you. Okay, any other business? Okay, let's move on to approval of meeting minutes.
And move now to approve the special meeting minutes of July 26, 2017.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Was that July of?
July 26th.
Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't there, so I'll have to abstain.
Okay.
Mike, they have you as not being here too.
Yeah.
Oh, this
I
was
was
the.
on
This is the
wrong
special
set of
meeting.
minutes.
Oh,
Yep.
I'm sorry. I was
Right.
confused about which one we
Right.
were on.
I
So I would,
So who's
withdraw
in
my
favor?
second.
Aye. Approve?
Wait.
So I have to withdraw my second because I wasn't at that.
Okay, second withdrawn.
I think this side of the table is here.
I'll
Okay.
second.
Okay, we got a second. We have further discussion? Okay.
Sorry.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. There's 4 ayes. Anybody opposed? And abstaining? We've got 3 abstentions. Got it.
Nice to call this for.
Now we've got meeting minutes for 8:14.
Two of us have got.
Motion to approve 8:14 minutes.
I can second those.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Warrants.
Motion to approve warrants 8:28.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Abstaining? Motion carries.
Motion to approve warrants 9:8.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. And next up, I will take a motion to move into executive session regarding real estate development projects.
Which would compromise the city or persons involved. Dom, you gonna be there? Are you the only one? Or-
Marty, please.
So, to include Dominic and Marty.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right.
And I'll make a motion to move into executive session to also include Marty and Dominic for purpose of discussing real estate purchase options.
Take a second. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.